Daddy make you move it.
Yeah, I'm making
no more.
movie. We're getting ready to go downtown. Where it said to smile, say hi. Say hi.
Hi.
There you go.
What's up everyone, this is Cedric Skycedi and welcome back to the fourth and final video of the Q&A series of the questions that you guys sent me through Instagram. And so in today's video, I want to focus specifically on just one question, and I think it's an important question and it's also somewhat of a hypothetical question. So I thought it'd be interesting just to keep it as its own video. And so before we get into that, if you guys are new to this channel, my name is Cedric Skycedi. I'm a man who is living here in South Korea, and this channel is about Korean culture and also my experiences as a Black and Korean man, and also just me being in my mother's home country. And I love to tell stories through this channel, and so if that's something that you're into, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also click that notification bell. This is the final question and I wanted to make it a good one, and so this is something that I've thought about here and there, but I haven't really given it much thought. I think I've thought about it a little bit more ever since moving to Korea, and here is the question. Have you ever thought about growing up as a Blasian kid in Korea? Would your life be different? Now, Blasian, basically meaning Black and Asian, in my case Black and Korean. Have I ever thought about living as a Black and Korean kid in Korea? Absolutely. I've thought about it and I think it would be interesting. And I've got a couple of different, I guess, points regarding me hypothetically living as a Black and Korean kid in Korea. So number one, I really do feel like my life would have been totally different in so many different ways. One, I would have grown up in a culture that is predominantly Korean, and my upbringing, as far as me going to school, my education, my language, everything would be Korean. And so I don't think there would be much of a difference outside of the average full Korean that lives here when it comes to culture, when it comes to me learning the language and also living here. I think the difference would come with treatment and how I would have been treated here, how I would have been looked at. Now, if we're talking about me growing up in the late 80s and throughout the 90s as a Black and Korean kid, I think that would be probably different than me growing up as a kid in 2019 as a Black and Korean. Here's what I mean by that. I think in the 80s and 90s, there, number one, weren't that many foreigners as compared to today living in Korea. Number two, Korea was just beginning to open up their doors to more foreigners coming in and letting more local Koreans go out of the country, right? So there was just this newer type of exposure to foreign culture and the understanding of how to treat foreign people, and also as it relates to how Korean people viewed foreigners and people that weren't Korean. I think in the 80s and 90s, I would have had a more difficult time growing up. I think I would have faced a lot more discrimination. I think I would have faced probably a lot of teasing from kids my age in elementary, maybe middle school. But this is just going off of assumption based on the experiences of other Blasians that I either know or have heard their stories about growing up in Korea. I think especially a couple of decades ago, there was more of a discrimination mindset shared amongst a lot of Korean people. For example, if I were to have some Korean friends and I wanted to go over their house and there's a group of us, perhaps the mother of whoever's friend's house I'm at, or the father, would probably look at me differently, probably would treat me differently. And if they didn't, they would probably think, oh, he's the odd one, he's different. In some extreme cases, oh, he's kind of the dirty kid. Why? Because my skin would probably be a little bit darker, right? I probably wouldn't look exactly like my other Korean friends. And so I think the different treatment will come in how I look, and also there might be a little bit of judgment on my parents for, you know, marrying each other. Me being treated differently and even negatively would be probably a reality that I would have had to have faced in that time. And to be completely honest, I think even in 2019, I would still face a certain degree of that. Maybe not to the extent of if I would have grown up in the 80s or 90s, but I know that it still goes on. I know that a lot of Korean people still have this mindset of being separated and being, you know, just sticking within the, I guess, the ethnicity, right? And not really wanting to mix in with other races or other ethnicities. I know a lot of people still have that mindset. As a matter of fact, I've heard stories, and there's a wonderful project out there that I was even on, the Happy Project, where they even talk about this a lot as well. And there was an interview with the mother of two, they're pretty famous little black and Korean girls that are models here in Korea, and the racism that they face and the mother face even to this day, talking about the color of their skin, talking about how dirty they are, and being compared even more negatively than their white and Korean counterparts. In other words, half Koreans who are white and Korean versus black and Korean.
Bringing back to the half Korean, half black children, those models that I was speaking to, I was speaking to their mom. And this was something she noticed that I actually hadn't noticed before, but she said, there is a new generation now of the younger kids, half Korean children. And she said, now it's split. We have half black, half Korean, then we've got half white and half Korean. And what she's noticed as a mom is that a lot of the mothers of half white, half Korean children even mistreat her children for being half black.
특히나 칼라 태어났을 때 주변에 아무도 그런 아이들이 없었으니까 애들이 같은 어린이집에 칼라처럼 혼혈 아이가 딱 한 명 있었는데 필리핀 혼혈이었어요. 근데 걔는 필리핀 혼혈인데도 하얗고 그냥 한국애처럼 생기니까 자기랑 그 아이랑 비교하는 게 너무 이제 스트레스가 받았는지 엄청 많이 울고, 왜 친구들이 걔한테는 안 그런데 나는 머리가 이상하다고 뭐라고 하고 피부 깜맣다고 뭐라고 하고 그러네 하면서 엄청 칼라는 그랬어요.
So there seems to be this I guess you can call it like this hierarchy of racism and discrimination, whereas, you know, if you're full Korean, you're good technically, right? And then if you're like maybe half white and half Korean, you get a certain level of treatment. And then if you're black and Korean, you're looked down upon even more. And so that's what seems to happen here in Korea sometimes. And again, it's not everyone, and a lot of people, a good portion of Korean people here are not racist. They're very open to learning. They just haven't really been exposed. But then there are those that are flat out racist. So I think my experience growing up as a black and Korean here would still be challenging compared to maybe someone else who is full Korean. Now here's another element and factor that I've also considered is I think treatment would also depend on how Korean I look. If I lived here in Korea and I'm a black and Korean, but I look a little bit more Korean, or I look almost fully Korean, maybe a little bit more tan, you know, my hair is a little curlier, but I have more of a Korean face, I think that treatment would be different for me as opposed to if I looked a little bit more black. If I had like more tighter curls and my skin was darker, I didn't really have like Asian eyes and people couldn't tell that I was either Korean or half Korean, I think treatment would be different. You know, I think about the experiences of the famous model here in Korea. He is Nigerian and Korean, Han Hyo-min. I've heard him talk about stories of racism and discrimination that he has faced here because of how he looked. Even though he grew up here in Korea as a Korean person, as a Korean citizen, he can't even speak English, he still gets treated as a foreigner and sometimes discriminated against because of how he looked. And so based off of these experiences that I've heard and I've seen, I can only guess how my life would be growing up here during this time, and I can only imagine how it would be 20 years ago in the 80s and 90s growing up as a Blasian kid. On top of that, I think my life would just be totally different. I'd probably have more of a focus on education and just wanting to get into a good school, and you know, I'd probably be just like any other Korean kid here, you know, honestly, outside of just being treated differently and maybe looking a little different. So anyways, I hope that's insightful for you. It's something that I think is interesting and I want to think about a little bit more, and perhaps I'll make some more deeper videos on this issue and this subject. I just want to do a little bit more research, and I want to live here a little bit longer just to kind of fill out the atmosphere here and just meet more people, meet more Koreans, and talk to more Koreans, and seek out more experiences of others who have lived here, who are maybe like myself but they grew up here. So stay tuned for that, because that's something I definitely want to look into. So anyways, I hope that answers your question, and also thank you guys so much for watching the videos in this Q&A Q&A series. I hope it was insightful. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about me. And if you guys, again, are not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and make sure you follow me on social media at skycedi, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All right, guys, if you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And remember to always seize the day. Peace.